So to anyone who's played on the LOLMAPS server, it shouldn't surprise you that 60% of the maps on this server have more downvotes than upvotes. But, believe it or not, there are still some good maps on this server. So let's just take a look at the top 40 highest rated LOLMAPS. Starting with number 40, we have Barrel Roll by Prof. Now, this is actually one of my all-time favorite maps. If you come up to a ramp like this, and you go off it at a weird angle off to the side, it's going to cause you to lose control and do a flip. And so you've got to be able to control that flip into landing clean and keep your speed. As you can tell, it can be pretty difficult to land them clean. Next map is called Hope Style by Cytox. Now this really is a true definition of a LOL map. I mean, you've got to press forward, bouncy start, and then after a big turn, you've just got to launch yourself out into the finish lines. But still, there's a lot of luck involved in something like this. Here we have a map called ROM Short Number 1. Something you'll notice a lot is that the LOLMAPS server is not just LOL maps. There's a whole lot of tech and full speed and all kinds of stuff. And so this is just a pretty basic mini precision tech map. Here at number 37, we've got Short Carlberg 4. Man, there sure are a lot of maps that people just name after themselves. And again, this is just a very smooth tech map. If you're trying to get into TrackMania mapping, this video would be a good masterclass. Basically, what makes the best maps are ones that just flow really well, with smooth turns, the kind of maps that really utilize any drifting skills you might have, and be able to maintain speed through the whole thing. Here we have another map by Prof, just Short Number 10. Now, this one can almost be considered like a mini RPG map. There's a lot of tech and transitional elements throughout this thing, and if you can get it down, it flows really well. But the discovery part of this map can take a little while to actually figure out the correct route. Back with another Cytox map called Wake Up. Now, one thing to take away from this map is to design your jumps so that if you take off at just the right speed, you will land perfectly smooth on the other side. And another Cytox map called Backflip Mania. Now, what's kind of funny about this map is that the actual track part of it is super simple. You're basically driving in one little loop, but then you get rewarded with a more exciting finish where instead of just putting the finish line right here, it launches you off into the distance where you get to fly through the finish line. It's kind of funny how a little touch like that can really generate a lot of likes for the map. Okay, now we have a map called Judge It by the Thumbnail by The Smell of Fish. This looks like a very simple map. Why would this have a lot of upvotes? The map starts, and you just fall right through the floor. It's kind of funny all the people that get ready to drive this thing, and then get caught completely off guard as they have to drive something completely different. Alright, time for another Prof map, this time Dirt Castle 3. Again, it's another very smooth transitional map. I won't spend too much time repeating on a lot of these. Same with the next one, Short 42 by Prof. This one almost feels more like a puzzle map because it drops you in and you see roads and checkpoints all over, but you've got to kind of figure out what's the best route to take. Now we have Mini Lul 17 by Nitro, but I gotta say to all the mappers, please stop naming all of your maps with just the words short, lol, mini, and then with a number attached to them. I know it can be hard to come up with creative, unique names for each map. When you have a map just called lol mini number 27 or something, you're just asking for this map to be completely forgettable. Alright, here's an interesting one called Golf Style by Cytox. Another press forward starting line, just to pick up some speed so that you can turn around and launch yourself out into this field. Honestly, it's not that hard to get a hole-in-one when there's a million holes off in the distance. You just gotta point at one and aim for it, just air braking and releasing however much you need. This is a very good map by Hay. And I have to say, I do not think that this is a very good map. I mainly just hate this stupid jump you've got to make in between the two walls that you have to do blindly and then take a sharp turn right afterwards. It's just a really awkward turn you've got to get through. But it's always cool when it turns around and reuses the other part of the track. 1984, Big Brother is Watching You, another Cytox map. This one's kind of interesting because it's just a really large traveling full speed map. I guess it's just kind of fun to go high speed through a lot of different scenery. Now I've got Polaroid, another Cytox map with just some more smooth transitions. Like I said, these are some of the more enjoyable maps to play, but there's not a whole lot to talk about. Alright, next up we have, you know, I don't think I've ever seen this map before. It looks kind of strange. Now we've got Short Number 40, another Prof map. See, again, like I said, it's a cool looking map. Prof always makes really good, like, indoor scenery maps, but I'm never gonna remember the name Short 40 to go look up later. If you try typing short or mini or lol or something like that into the map list, you're gonna get thousands of results. Next we have V Mini number 3 by Viffy. We got a big turn into a big smooth transition into a blind jump into the finish line. Moving on, now we've got Prof's grass slide tutorial. This must be from a long time ago and a lot of people didn't understand how to grass slide, but honestly it's not even the smoothest grass slide I've ever seen. It's not really the easiest grass slide to pull off clean, at least. Alright, now we've got Fun number 5 by Tuka. This is another map where right when it starts out, everyone drives off into random directions because it's not immediately obvious which way you're supposed to go. But as far as mini transitional maps go, this one's pretty cool because of this one bounce right off of the starting line. You gotta do a flip onto this wall ride, and it actually is not as hard as it looks. I've really lost count of how many we've done at this point, but now we've got Sexy LOL 12 by Nitro. Now, while this map is pretty fun and smooth, the real revelation I got from playing this was that this guy is playing with a GameCube controller right now. I mean, overall, it's a pretty fun, smooth map, but I'm not entirely sure where the name is coming from. Maybe it's just sexy how smooth of a run this is. Now we have Low Ping, another Cytox transitional map. Again, like I was saying, it's really nice when doing it correctly gives you just enough speed to take off this jump and then land perfectly smooth on the other side. Now we have Red LOL by Prof. Man, people really like Prof maps on this server. This one's a little strange, I guess. It's just a very little short tech road into a barrel roll jump and then just pick your finish. Now we have Tiny number 3 by Hot Rod, another really good speed tech map. Then there's Intoxication by Producer MC, more tech transition stuff. Then Arty Tracks by Cytox. Man, I feel like I'm really beating a dead horse here. If it's not clear yet, the best maps are the ones that really take into account how much speed you have at any given point, and then give you turns and obstacles that match that speed. Now we have Velp Canyon 08. Velp likes to take blocks from other games and then import them into Stadium. I mean, it works, and this map does flow pretty well. The best part is that normally you're trying to reduce airtime when going over this hump, but here you're just barely able to cut right over this wall and keep it full speed the whole time. Alright, we're up to the 13th best map now, called Speeding Ticket by Zipper Key. Now this is pretty much a full-on speed tech map, and you just gotta get your drifting angles down just right to be able to make it around the turns. Number 12 is Mountain Climb by Prof. Man, I really don't even know how they do this sort of like landscaping. I mean, first of all, I don't know how you delete the stadium in the map editor, but then they also managed to just build these grass hills everywhere, and so you get to drive off of the terrain on and off the road. Ooh, now we have Prof's 2 Launcher 5. I've talked about this one before. You drive in this one little loop and then just launch yourself out into the field, and if you're lucky, you'll land yourself into one of the little finish lines off in the distance. Now let's take a look at Eternity LOL 14 by Julius Octopus. Now, I don't know what they did to the scenery or to the lighting in here, but it actually looks really cool. I mean, people are always a big fan of smooth tech maps, but when you add some cool theming to it, that's how you end up with a like ratio like this one. Oh, and then there's Tube Launcher number 3. See, in another video, I said that the Tube Launcher maps are controversial because of how random it can be, but I think that's also what makes these some of the most popular LOL maps. Sometimes it's just really fun to launch yourself out and go really fast, even if sometimes you might get screwed by the finish lines. Alright, the 8th highest rated LOL map is another Velp Canyon. This one, I think full speed is possible, but it's really hard to get clean. Number 7 is the Insane Turtle Invasion. Now, we've seen some maps that use custom assets, and at first it looks like these are custom assets, but I'm actually not entirely sure if these are, or if they just molded the dirt and the grass to build these turtles all over the place. But I guess scenery really can carry the map, because this is not one of the most fun maps to drive, but it is fun to look at. Alright, here's a wild one just called Hogwarts. Huh, I wonder where he got that name. It actually just looks like Hogwarts got destroyed in some sort of siege attack, and so we just turned the rubble into a racetrack. But hey, I set out a challenge anyone who's playing this map. Anyone who doesn't get a sub 25-second run on this gets Avada Kedavra. Oh, and it looks like True Love Kills just got eaten by Dementors. Now we're down to the top 5 tracks, starting with Tube Launcher 2. My main problem with this one is that it launches you out at high speeds, and then you've got to find a way to do a 180, turning back around as you drop down to the lower level. It's really hard to just not end up landing upside down or driving backwards when you get down there. Alright, here's a map that really belongs in the LOLMAPS Hall of Fame. It's called Grass Fly 360. This is probably the most played map on the entire server, which means it also has one of the most competitive leaderboards on the entire server. You've got these very smooth transition turns, then you do one little jump onto some grass, and then take that grass slide into one large jump all the way over to the finish line. However, people have gotten so technical with it that you've got to have your grass slide be so perfect, and I gotta admit, I really just don't understand how to do this one perfectly. Alright, moving on to the top 3, we've got Velp's Full Speed, Speed Drift to Land Smooth. Now, something interesting about this map is that it uses these sausage pieces, and apparently these blocks make the file size so big that Dedimania just doesn't work on it, so those leaderboards just get reset every time you open it. It's also kind of hilarious to me that rather than just mapping in TM20, some people just decided to extract assets from TM20, import them into TM2, and map here instead. But overall, I just love how smooth this track is if you do it just right. Alright, the second highest rated map on the server is called Golf Course 2 Driving Range, where you just have to go through a launcher and try and land in one of these little holes. I mean, it doesn't really get more LOL maps than this. At least it's good to know that the LOLMAPS server still has LOL maps on it. But overall, I think this map is actually more frustrating than enjoyable, because like you're just hoping for a really lucky shot sending you right towards one of the holes, but those lucky shots are so rare. So usually you're just launching yourself out over and over again, hoping for something good, and it never comes. But it's now time for the #1 highest rated LOL map. Ironically, it's not even really a LOL map, it's a Shiftfest map, and this one's called Mini Golf Halloween. Now this map is really interesting for a number of reasons. So I mean, obviously there's some very unique scenery in this, but what you have to do is drive through these little mini golf courses, and then once you land in the hole, that counts as a checkpoint, and then you have to push the reset at checkpoint button, which will start you on the next hole. And you just have to get yourself through, I think, 6 holes, and then the finish line is the last one. But those are the highest rated maps on the LOLMAPS server, even though most of them were just speed tech and precision maps instead of really being LOL maps. I know it's not as exciting talking about good maps, so don't worry, the next video will be about the worst rated maps on the server.